friends, Peggy Hall here, and I'm so glad to have you back with me as we dive into this concept of enoughness, or maybe I should say not enoughness. But I'm going to take a little twist on this topic. Often you'll hear people talking about themselves like they don't feel good enough, smart enough, thin enough, wealthy enough, capable enough, fill in the blank. And there are many broadcasts on YouTube to help you feel better and feel that you are enough. But I want to turn it around and talk about those people that we know who are often talking about not enough. So think about a scenario where you may have visited a friend, for example, or you may have done something for a friend. Usually when I think about these scenarios, it has to do with time and effort. So for example, let's say that I had a phone call with a friend that I hadn't spoken to for a while. And let's say that we chatted for 20 minutes and I needed to go. And then the friend would say something like, "Oh my gosh, but there's so much more to talk about. We don't have enough time. I haven't had enough opportunity to catch up for you. I didn't hear enough about what you're doing." And from their perspective, it wasn't enough. They want more, and often they want more of you, your time, your effort, your energy, your input, what have you. You might be flattered and you may say, "Gosh, that's great. That friend really likes to spend time with me." But there also might be a part of you where you're thinking, "Oh my gosh, I just spent 20 minutes catching up. Can't she be happy enough with this phone chat that we just had?" And it may be a situation with a parent or a child or even a spouse where you're like, "Oh my gosh, how much of me do they need? How much of my time? I'm spending so much, I'm giving so much. Why is it not enough?" Now, this is a little bit different than our conversation last week, which was about difficult people. These people may not necessarily be difficult. They may not be self-absorbed. They may not be critical or condescending or controlling and all of those other hallmarks that we might put on the label of narcissist. So there may be people that are genuinely caring and fun to be with and affable and empathetic and interested and interesting, but it's almost as if it's never enough. They may have a situation you may have observed, or you may have been with them, or they may have told you about, perhaps buying something, and they never can get enough. They have to get that other handbag and another pair of shoes and another necklace and another pair of earrings. And you're recognizing a pattern in this other person that it's never enough. You may be spending time with them and you're ready to relax, or maybe you were watching a movie and they want to watch another movie, just one more, or maybe just one more. I don't drink, but maybe they want one more drink. It's always one more. It's never enough. I've had experiences like this, and it can be awkward because I want to enjoy and really embrace and celebrate what it is we just did. So I want to give you a couple of tips. And if you are recognizing this pattern in yourself, perhaps it will be helpful for you as well. Again, this is not the traditional topic of "you are enough, you're good enough, you're more than enough, you're worthy." I think all of those expressions are valid, and I think we do need to hear them from time to time. And let me know in a comment below if you would like me to cover that in another video where we can talk about our own self and our own enoughness. I actually have a funny story. I probably would like to have Pastor David on to share this story as well, because he was a crucial part of it. And we'll talk about this concept of enoughness. And let me also say this. Some of our foibles, some of our characteristics, some of the things that we may not really like about ourselves, I think we need to embrace those as well, as long as we are not harming ourselves or others. Obviously, if you are overeating, over drinking, if you're smoking, if you're spending money that you don't have, if you are staying up at all hours in the morning, if you are becoming obsessed on social media, those are things that you may not like about yourself that you want to change. But there may be certain characteristics that you're okay with. For example, I have a tendency toward perfectionism. I don't think I will ever get rid of that. And I don't necessarily want to get rid of it, but I will increase my awareness. And that's where we're going to go, developing a sense of awareness around this characteristic or tendency, so that if it comes to the point where I am doing those behaviors that I just mentioned, staying up at all hours of the night, neglecting certain important activities and responsibilities of my own life and how I manage it, if I'm not getting food in the refrigerator, if I'm not doing the laundry or keeping the house tidy, or fill in the blank with whatever those daily responsibilities are for you, if you are neglecting those because of one of these characteristics or tendencies you have, then yes, that may be something that you want to modify and adapt and adjust. But the fact is, I kind of like being a perfectionist. I like having high standards. I like demanding a lot of myself. I have given up demanding a lot of others because I realize they may not have that same streak or tendency or desire that I have, and that's okay. So I have grown a lot in that area, but I am not going to lose sleep over my tendency toward perfectionism. And I want to reassure you that you don't have to lose sleep over your tendency, if it's yours or someone that you know, of not enoughness. Just acknowledging it and recognizing it and being aware of it is huge right from the get-go. So I have a couple of points for you. I'm going to bring up my notes here that I made, and let's see if I still have them available here. Give me one moment. Aha, I found them. You see, the perfectionist in me would have made me revise this entire video and start from scratch, but I am moving ahead and that's all right. So when I acknowledge my tendencies, like, oh, that's not exactly how I wanted it, you know what? It's okay. I would rather get the message out, even if it isn't perfect. I've spoken about that before, being better than perfect, meaning I can embrace not being perfect. I can be perfectly imperfect. But let's talk about not enoughness. I can feel awkward sometimes when I'm with people and I'm getting that sense of their not enoughness. I remember this with, well, let's just say it was my mom, and I would visit and she would say, oh my gosh, you're leaving already, and oh, I wish you could stay longer. And I realized that that came from a place of her enjoyment of wanting to spend time together. And I enjoyed spending time with my mom. We actually did a lot of fun things together, and that's fantastic. But I was left, I felt a little bit guilty and, oh my gosh, maybe I should spend more time. But the bottom line for me is that I allowed it to sort of dissipate some of the enjoyment that I had with that get together. I don't know that she meant it like that. It's possible she did, maybe poked a hole a little bit to kind of deflate some of the enjoyment. I think more likely she genuinely felt like, I wish we had more time together. Unfortunately, I took it as, well, you weren't appreciative of the time that we did spend together. And here's how I developed some of my approaches here that I'm going to share with you. So the first one is, I would learn, and I started to say things like, well, I'm glad that we could spend this time together. And then I would say, you know what, Mom, even if I was here for just 60 seconds and I gave you a hug and I told you that I loved you, that would be enough for me, because that, I'd rather have that than nothing at all. So I would spin it in my cheerful, positive, optimistic way to try to present it in a way that was actually enjoyable. I don't know if that had an impact or not. I have no idea what she actually thought or felt. We never can know that about another person, even if they tell us. We don't know if that is sincere, but I was sincere, and I was able to express myself in such a way that I was not frustrated or a little bit deflated. So remember, for those of us, including our friends and our family, our loved ones, maybe our not so loved ones, maybe you have a coworker, somebody in a community group that you're in, and you get that sense for them that it's never enough. They may even be pressuring you to do more because they're not satisfied. So that's where we have to remember that they are dealing with some deficits. They are dealing with fear and insecurity of not having enough. And friends, I need to tell you, it is not up to us to fix that. As much as we want to, as much as we wish we could, I wish that we could, it's not up to us to do so. The only thing we can do is open a door for their awareness. I've been working on this, my own awareness, in terms of some characteristics, And I also want to say that we can embrace those things. So if you are dealing with the sense of, oh, I'm not enough, I'm not doing enough, I'm not accomplishing enough, I'm not fill in the blank enough, acknowledging that and then saying, it's a good thing that I have standards for myself. It's great that I believe that I have enough potential that I can still fulfill. Now, I know I'm going a little bit on the focusing it about you, and I really wanted to focus this on others. So the awareness and even the appreciation of this characteristic and accepting it, I think, goes a long way. So if this is something that you are dealing with, I would write about it. And here is the question. And this is the question that I would pose for one of these individuals that you're dealing with in a friendly, non-confrontational way. So with my mom, I could say, Mom, how long of a visit would be enough? I mean, I just think facing it head on in a pleasant way, not getting gruff and upset and, I'm busy, I don't have enough time, you never appreciate when I come. That's going to spiral downhill really quickly. But in a friendly manner, just asking, well, how much would be enough? What would a good length of time? How frequently would you like me to come over and visit? And then you actually know. They may not even know. When you're on the phone with your friend and they say, oh my gosh, I didn't have enough time. And then you ask the question, oh, I'm curious to know how much time would you feel is enough? And we can plan for that next time. Now you're helping them become aware of their actions and of their patterns and of their behavior. Let's say that you're planning a get together and you let them know, oh, I can come for the weekend. Oh, I wish you could stay longer. Well, how much longer would you like? How much is enough? What would that length of time be that you're satisfied with? I just think that I've never heard anybody talk about that approach. So if you'd like to try it, I've tried it. It has yielded great results, and it's yielded great results in my own life as well. So let me know if you would like to talk about tackling that for yourself in greater detail. But I find that sometimes I can be a little bit exasperated is the word that comes to mind when I'm dealing with people and they are expressing that it is never enough. And you can ask them, how much money would be enough for you? How much of this would be enough? If you want to have those conversations, it's actually helpful to turn that around so that they may have a light now that can shine on some of their characteristics. You don't necessarily have to get rid of it. If you live with that sense of I'm not enough or this isn't enough, definitely we can talk about that in a future video. Next time, I want to talk about overly relying on others. That's a topic that's been on my mind because of a couple of interactions I've had. So I can't wait to talk to you about that as well. Thank you again for being on board. I so much appreciate you being a part of this supportive community. And I'll see you next week. Remember, you can always check the live tab and also the videos tab to catch up on any of the previous broadcasts. See you soon, everybody.